Hello everybody and welcome to the video notes for our first day of SBAC review. And in today's lesson we're learning about how to find the part or the percent of a whole or any part of this equation. Today's notes are dedicated to Angel in 6A. Hi Angel. Let's start by thinking about these three things. A part of something, which is like a portion of something, the percent of something, and what the whole thing is. And here's two examples. Think about if you have a glass of water. The whole glass, and you can draw this with me, all of this glass, that represents the whole. That's everything, the full glass. And if you pour some water in it, but we pour a little bit less than halfway, this is the part, right, that little bit of water that we have, that's part of the whole. And then this part of the whole represents, right here, right, the percent of whatever is full of the glass. So you might say, oh, like this part is 40% of the glass, of the whole. Same thing on the right. If your phone, right, has all of its battery, you have the whole battery, right? The whole is also 100%. When your battery is fully charged, when you have the whole thing, you have 100% battery, right? If you have a full glass of water, you have 100% of the glass. And then let's say you use your phone a little bit and you're left with this much, right? Whatever this amount out of the whole that you have, that's the part, the smaller portion that you have. And then whatever the part is out of the 100%, right, this amount is the percent. So you might say in this case, oh, my battery is at 75%. 75% out of the whole, 75% out of the 100%. And we've seen this before, and before we would set it up as equivalent ratios, right? We might say that the part out of the whole is equal to the percent out of 100. This might look a little bit familiar, right? Two equivalent ratios. And we would say, okay, well, the part times something, right, is the same thing as the whole times something. And you'd figure out, okay, well, what do I have to multiply? So it's this same thing, but we're just looking at it in a different way, like this. Okay, so let's get some practice with identifying what is the part of something, what is the percent of something, and what is the whole. We're going to do this example right here as a class. Let's read it together. 40% of the students in the class went on the field trip. If there are 30 students in the class, how many went on the field trip? So in this problem, we have a full class of students, and some of them go on the field trip, but not all of them. So the part is what we're trying to find. We don't know that yet. The percent we know. Okay, we know that 40% of the class goes on the field trip. That's what it tells us in this first line. And then it tells us if there are 30 students in the class. So then 30 students would be the whole. And there's a total of 30 students in the class. And how many went on the field trip? So this is what we're trying to figure out. So I'm going to put a question mark here because that's what we're trying to figure out. 30 students total, 40% of them go. What would that be? Let's look at the next example. 40% of the students in the class went on the field trip again. If 12 students went on the field trip, how many students are in the class? So 40% of the students went on the field trip. Okay, we know we have the percent. If 12 students went on the field trip, so out of the whole class, 12 went. So this time it's giving us the part. So it's 12 students. And it's asking us how many students are in the class total. So in this time, we don't know what the whole is. That's what we're trying to figure out. How many students are in the whole class if 12 of them go, and it's 40% of the whole. Let's look at the last one. 12 students in the class went on the field trip. If there are 30 students total in the class, what percent of the class went on the field trip? So 12 students went on the field trip. That's what they're telling us. They're giving us the part. "30 students total in the class," so that would be the whole thing, the whole class. So I know that the whole is 30, and it's asking us to find what percent of the class went on the field trip. Then the percent is what we don't know and what we're trying to find. So in each of these situations, they're giving us 2 of these 3 things, and we have to find the third. I want you to try the same strategy, reading through each of these 3 situations and figuring out which is the part that they're asking us to find and what are the other 2 parts. So I'm going to have you then pause and try these 3 on your own. And then when you're done, you can resume the video. And remember, if you're not really pausing and trying on your own, you're not challenging yourself to learn. Okay, let's check our work. If there are 20 questions on the test, okay, 20 questions total, it's the whole. Melanie answers 15 of them correctly. So it's 15 out of the 20, so the part is 15. What percent of the question did she answer correctly? We're trying to figure out, well, what is then the percent? Melanie answered 75% of the questions on the test correctly. Okay, we know that she answered the percent, 75. If the test has 20 questions in total, the whole test has 20 questions. How many of those 20 did she answer correctly? So we're trying to find the part. And the last one, Melanie answered 75% of the questions. We're getting the percent. If she answered 15 of those correctly, okay, so it's 15 out of the whole. They're giving us the part. How many questions are on the test? So how many questions total in the test? That would be the whole. That's what we're trying to figure out in this one. All right, if you got all 3 of those on your own, let's level up. In each of these, there's going to be a question. We're going to use this equation, that the part is equal to the percent times the whole, to figure out what is the missing piece. On the left here, let's read the problem. In the 6B, sorry, I should just say in 6B, typo, 20% of the students earned an A on the math test. If there are 30 students total in the class, how many got an A? The part is equal to the percent times the whole. Okay, so 20% of the students earned an A. I'm going to circle that, and I'm going to write, that's the percent. Sorry, so just do a percent sign. And then if there are 30 students in the class, okay, so there's 30 students in the class, I'm going to put a W right next to it, because I know that's the whole thing, 30 out of the class. And we're trying to find how many got an A. So how many out of the whole, that would be the part. So going back to this equation here, I know that the part, which I'll use P for, is equal to the percent, which is 20%, times the whole, times there's 30 students total. So I know that my part is equal to 20% times the whole. The next step that I can do is I can convert this percent into a decimal. And if you remember, I'm going to do this on the side here. 20% is equal to, right, you move the decimal 2 spaces to the left, it would go right there. So 20% is the same thing as 0.20, which is just 0.2. So I know that the part is equal to 0.2, because 0.2 is the same thing as 20% times the whole, which is 30. And then in this case then, I can write out the math, I can do it in my head, or I can do it on a calculator. Right? 0.2 times 30 equals 6. So I know that the part is equal to 6. The part was how many students got an A. So I can say 6 students got an A. And there's my answer. Okay. This problem on the right, I'll set it up for you and I'm going to have you solve it on your own. On the middle school basketball team, 40% of the students are 6th graders. If there are 20 students on the team total, how many are 6th graders? So we know, let's mark up our problem. We have the percent, it's 40% of the 6th graders, 20 on the team total, so that's the whole. I'm going to circle this, put a W, we know 20% of the whole. How many are 6th graders? How many are there? That's going to be the part. So we want the part is equal to the percent, which is 40% of the whole. There's 20 is the whole, 20 on the team total. And remember that 40%, I'll do this on the side here, 40% is equal to 0.4. So I convert this decimal into this percent, and then use my calculator to multiply to find the part. I'll let you finish that on your own. Let's look at number 2 for finding the whole. Jesus has read 24 pages of his book. If Jesus has finished 15% of the book, how many pages are in the book? So in this problem, Jesus has read 24 pages out of the total book. So 24 is the part. He has finished 15% of it, so they give us the percent. And how many pages are in the book? So we know we're trying to find how many pages are in the book total, so that's going to be the whole. So if we go to part equals percent times part equals to percent times the whole, we have the part this time, which was 24 pages out of the book. So now that 24 is equal to the percent, 15% of the book, times the whole. We don't know what the whole was. That's what we're trying to figure out. Times the whole. And then the first step from here, what we can do is we can convert this percent into a decimal. So 24 is equal to 0.15, that's this percent as a decimal, times W. Now if you remember from your do now, we want to get W, figure out what the whole is, all by itself. Now to get this W all by itself, I can divide both sides by 0.15, because if I'm multiplying 0.15 times the W, to get it by itself, I have to divide it to both sides. And so then these will cancel out, and then I'm just left with a W, and I know that W is equal to 24 divided by 0.15. Let's do that on the calculator. 24 divided by 0.15 equals 160. So know that my whole is 160, and it's asking me how many pages are in the book. So the whole book has 160 pages. Okay. This problem on the right, I'll help you set it up and then you're going to finish it on your own. Melanie spent 40% of her money on a pair of shoes that costs $85. How much money did she start with? So they're giving us the percent, and 40% of all of the money that she has was spent on these shoes, and that's 85. So we know that 85 is the part. How much money did she start with? So how much money did she start with? That would be the whole amount that she has. So we have the percent, we have the part, we're trying to find the whole. Let's set up our equation. The part, which is $85, is equal to the percent, which is 40%, times the whole. We're trying to find the whole, so we're trying to figure out what is W. To get W by itself, we have to, first, let's convert 40% into a decimal. As a decimal, 40% is 0.4, so 85 is equal to 0.4 times W. To get W by itself, we have to undo this multiplying by 0.4, so we'll divide both sides by 0.4. And then I can know that W is equal to, and I'll let you calculate that on your own and figure out what that equals. Okay, sorry these notes are a little bit long. We are almost done. Last one, we are trying to find the percent. So there's 17 cars in the parking lot, and they're telling us that those are red, and there are 15 cars in the parking lot total. What percent of the cars are red? So we know that 17 is the part out of the whole 50 cars, and we're trying to find what percent. So we have the part, we have the whole, but what is the percent? The part is equal to the percent times the whole. So if the part is 17 equal to the percent times the whole, there's 50 cars total, so the whole is 50. I want to get this percent all by itself. So to do that, I have to undo this multiplying by 50 to get the percent by itself. I can undo the multiplying by 50.
Salvador Avelar, come to the office, Salvador.
Salvador, hope you make your way to the office. We're going to divide both sides by 50. So I know that my percent right, these 50s will cancel out. And I have 17 divided by 50 on the left side. That's going to be the percent. I can do that on my calculator. 17 divided by 50 equals 0.34. So that's what I'm going to write over here. The percent is equal to 0.34. Now it's asking for a percent, not a decimal. So what I have to do is I have to convert this decimal back into a percent. And 0.34 as a percent, right? If it's 0.34, all I have to do is move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. And so it would go right there, and then that's my percent. So it's 34%. And it's 34% are red, of the cars are red. Okay. I'm going to have you do this last one all on your own. If you get stuck, look back at my example here. And again, sorry for such long video notes today. And with that,